Vian was crying while looking at her mark sheet. I'm useless. I'm of no use. I can't do anything. My parents doesn't love me because I'm useless. I never made them proud. That's why everyone hates me. God, why I'm so useless. She crumbled the mark sheet in her one hand and leaned onto the railing of the bridge. She was staring at the flowing water of the river, while tears were continuously flowing from her eyes. But she flinched when she heard someone shouting her name. Vian. She turned around and saw Taehyung walking towards her. Don't know what came in her mind. She took some steps backward and then suddenly she started running away from him. Vian, where are you going? Stop. He also ran behind her. Why the hell she is running away from me? He was running behind her, but his eyes widened, seeing a car coming towards her in full speed. But Vian wasn't stopping. She was just running without looking here and there. Vian, watch out! He ran towards her to save her, but just then, the car was about to hit Vian. Taehyung pulled her towards him, causing both of them to fall on the ground. Taehyung was on the ground while she was on the top of him. He was holding her tightly. Are you okay? He asked, but Vian was in her own trance. She wasn't saying anything. He made her stand along with him, but Vian was still looking down. But then, anger filled in his vein. He looked at her furiously. What were you doing, huh? What were you trying to do? He shouted, making her flinch. He was thinking that she was here to end her life. He grabbed her shoulder before turning her towards him. Will you tell me? What are you doing here in the midnight? I was worried sick at home. Do you have any idea how much worried I was? He stopped when he heard her crying. Till now, she was crying silently, hearing him shouting at her. But now, her sobs started getting louder. Taehyung brushed his hair back in frustration. He had to be calm with her. Shouting and getting angry will only worsen the situation. Taking a deep breath, he looked at her. Vian, before he could say further, she cut him off, saying, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me, she said while crying. It's fine. Just don't do this from next time. If you want to go somewhere, then inform me, he said, his voice soft than his usual cool tone. But Vian shook her head, while more tears rolled down from her eyes. She forwarded the crumbled mark sheet, which was still in her hand, to him. I'm sorry. I'm such a disappointment. He narrowed his eyes, taking the mark sheet from her hands. She was just past one mark less, or she would be in the category of failed student. He looked at her, his anger again flaring up. He grabbed her arm and pulled her closer. She closed her eyes, seeing him raged, while continuously mumbling small sorry. Open your eyes. I said open your eyes, Vian, he said. His deep, stern voice forced her to follow his words. She opened her eyes, locking her eyes with his, her eyelashes wet with tears. His gaze softened after seeing her. He gently wiped the tears off from her face. What is this, Vian? He said, his eyes showing disappointment while she again said sorry while lowering her head. What sorry, huh? What sorry? He left her shoulders with a jerk, while she became more scared seeing him this angry. But her eyes widened when he teared the mark sheet in front of her and threw it on the road. Just because of this, you were scared, and you were that much scared that you didn't come home and even tried to run away from me. Do you even know how I felt when the car was about to hit you? If I wasn't there, he grabbed his head, his frustration reaching its peak level. He looked at Vine, who was looking at him as if she had seen some ghost. He slowly took a step closer to her and cupped her face. Wiping her tears, he said, Vina, no need to get scared of me. These marks doesn't mean to me more than you. I won't kill you for getting low marks. And it's okay to get low marks. Not everyone can be a good student. Maybe you are made for something else. Studies are not everything. Studies are important, but you don't need to become a scientist. Just need to complete your basic studies. And I'll help you in that, okay? Vine was hearing him with a blank expression on her face. Her eyes filled with tears again. It's the first time someone told her that she is important more than anything to him. She suddenly hugged him, throwing her all weight on him. Taehyung stumbled a little but held her by grabbing her waist. It's the first time after their marriage they were this close. And Taehyung felt good, feeling her this close to him. But then he felt something wet on his neck. Turned out she was crying again. He tried to separate her, but she held on to him more tightly, not letting him go. Vian, don't cry. But hearing this, she started crying more louder. Sobs after sobs, her cries filled in the silent road of that night. She was crying badly. Taehyung felt bad. The unknown feeling of not acknowledging her pain didn't settle well in his stomach. He was feeling restless, yet so useless. His wife was in front of him in so much pain, but he couldn't see her pain, and instead of comforting her, he added more into it. After some time, her sobs decreased, and she parted away from him. She gasped after seeing his shirt. His shirt was ruined because of her. I'm sorry, she said, her voice low because of crying too much. It's okay, don't worry about it. Here, wipe your face. He extended his handkerchief to her. While she was stunned, as it was first time he was behaving softly with her. She was lost looking at him, but flinched when he started wiping her face. Yes, wipe your face, he said when she took the handkerchief from his hand hurriedly. Let's go home. He held her hand and started walking towards his car. But only after 2 steps, Vine stumbled. If wasn't Taehyung holding her, she would be on ground now. Vine, what happened? He asked her as she clenched her hands on Taehyung's shirt, and in no time, she fell on Taehyung, unconscious. Vine, what happened? Vine opened her eyes slowly, her head throbbing with pain. She looked around and realized she is not in her room, but what shocked her that she is in Taehyung's room. Just then, the door opened and Taehyung entered with a tray in his hand. He looked at Vine, who was awake now. You are awake. Doctor told me that you have been starving yourself, and because of that you fainted. And you also have a slight fever. Why didn't you eat on time, Vine? He asked as he sat beside Vine, but she kept quiet. He placed his hand on her forehead to check her temperature, while her body shuddered, feeling his touch against her. Your fever has gone down now. Now finish your meal and take your medicines. They both had their dinner in silence. In between, Vine was stealing glances of Taehyung, wondering what happened to him. Taehyung noticed it, but didn't say anything. Now it's time to sleep. Vine was about to get up from the bed, but Taehyung stopped her. Where are you going? In my room. From today onwards, you will stay here. This time, Vine looked at him. But why? Taehyung noticed the change in her tone. cause we are husband and wife. But we were husband and wife from the start, so why now? Cause initially I wanted to give you some time so that you can be free with me. As we met only 2 times before marriage, so I didn't wanted to make you uncomfortable. He said, trying to make Ryan understand, as from now on, he doesn't want to leave Ryan alone. Reluctantly, Ryan nodded. Now, they were laying on the bed. Taehyung looked at Ryan, who was staring at the ceiling blankly. Ryan. He called her name, and in response, Ryan looked at him. Ryan, I want to say that from now on, share your problems with me. I'm here for you. Besides being your professor, I'm also your husband, Ryan. But I never felt that you are my husband. You never made me feel like that. You always treated me like your student, be it in university or in home. Ryan, I'm sorry for that. I just wanted your good. But actually, your parents told me that you are a very stubborn girl. Don't take your studies seriously and waste your time in useless things. They wanted me to be strict with you. Mom Dad said this to you, she whispered while Taehyung nodded. And as a professor, I took it seriously and wanted to make you a good student. But I won't blame your parents totally for that, cause I was also at fault for not talking to you directly. But recently, I noticed that I am damaging our relationship, and I don't want that. I don't want you to get distanced from me. But you have already created so much distance. Taehyung sighed. I know, and now I want to erase that distance. I don't want to lose you. Let's start from being friends. He extended his hand towards her and she hesitantly gave her hand in his. This was the start of their relation. I'm sorry, Ryan muttered slowly after her fifth attempt to solve the question also failed. Taehyung has decided to teach her, and here is she. She solved one question 5 times and the answer was different every time. She looked at Taehyung to find any kind of frustration and disappointment, but there was none. He was calm and composed. Try again. You are doing small silly mistakes. Because of them, you are missing the whole question. Here, I'm explaining this again, but after this, you have to do it by your own. Ryan nodded silently as she decided to put her 100% focus. If he is doing this much just for her, then why can't she? After some days, Taehyung, see, I solved 3 questions right in a row. She exclaimed happily and hugged Taehyung from side, stopping his breath for a moment and then backed away. After so much of trying, she can finally solve some questions. In that time, Taehyung came to know many things about her. Her basics were very weak. She hesitates to ask doubts as if he would mock her for asking questions. Well, he understood this was because of her past, and slowly she would recover from it. This is enough for a day. Let's go and take a walk outside. He closed the book and after settling them on its place, he took her hands in his and they both walked outside. All the time she was looking at him, as if trying to comprehend if he is the same cold man. Well, he is still cold, but she could see changes in him now. He is treating her warmly and she is liking it. After some days, Taehyung walked inside Ryan's house. He needed to confront her parents for what they had done to that poor soul. There, he saw Ryan's parents, Mr. Min and Mrs. Min, sitting on the couch. Upon seeing him, they both stood up and offered him to sit. What happened, son? Why you suddenly called us? Did Ryan do something? Taeyang looked at her in disbelief. He didn't even mention Wyan's name, and she had already assumed that Wyan had done something. Why asking him? I'm sure that dumb Wyan must have done something. That's why he is here, right, Mr. Kim? Taeyang turned towards the source of voice and saw Ji-won descending down the stairs. He glared at her sharply. Ji-won, mind your language. You're talking about your elder sister and my wife, so think before you speak. Why? She was about to burst out but got quiet when Mr. Min glared at her. Don't look at me like that, Dad. You all know what I said is right, she said and stormed out of there. Well, I have to say that your younger daughter is so disrespectful and mannerless. They wanted to say something to Taeyang, but they knew they can't, at least not now. Leave her, she is a child. Tell me the reason about your sudden visit, son. Tomorrow, you have to pay a visit in college regarding complaints against Miss Ji-won. Mr. and Mrs. Min got tensed hearing this. What complaint? Did Ji-won do something? And who complained against Ji-woo? Tell me, who is the person who complained against Ji-won? I'll handle that person. Taeyang leaned backward on sofa, crossing his one leg on another. He watched Mr. and Mrs. Min, who is getting tensed for their so-called lovely brat child. Me, Kim Taeyang, complained against your daughter. You? But why? And what Ji-won did? And even Ji-won did something. We are family. We should help each other, right? Taeyang looked at her amused, and her audacity to say that they are family. Really? No, Mrs. Min, I do not mix my personal and professional life. And top of that, I don't support wrong which you people and your daughter did. Taeyang, will you please stop beating around the bush? What really we and our daughter did? Ji-won had bullied Wyan, and it is not from now. She is bullying her from school days, and not only in school, but in home also, and you people never noticed. Oh, so Wyan has also trapped you in her fake stories. She do everything, except doing useful things, Mrs. Min said, her voice filled with disdain. I have proofs of what I'm saying is true. And Mrs. Min, think before you say anything about my wife, cause I'll not hear anything against her. When Mr. Min saw that the situation is getting out of control, he signed Mrs. Min to be quiet and said, Taeyang, what happened is already happened. We can't change it. But why dragging home's matter outside? We can solve it here. Can you please withdraw your complaint? Oh, how shamelessly he is asking Taeyang to withdraw his complaint, while on the contrast, he never once asked how Wyan is, what actually Ji-won did to Wyan. We will think about it later, but for now, I want to ask you something, if it is true or not. Did you guys used to lock Wyan in a dark room and starve her whenever she gets low marks? Taeyang asked, his eyes fixed on their faces to find any kind of shame on their faces for doing this to their own child, but there was none. Taeyang stood up, as now the water was going above his head. He can't take it anymore. While Mr. and Mrs. Min also stand up. Now you will also see how your Ji-won will make you ashamed to even walk on the road with your head straight. Mr. and Mrs. Min widen their eyes as they understand the meaning behind his words. See you tomorrow in the university, and then in the court. With that, Taeyang left from there, while Mr. and Mrs. Min kept shouting from behind. Taeyang walked in while calling Wyan's name, but his steps halted upon seeing the scene in front of him. Wyan was sleeping, resting her head on the book. Her hairs were flying over her face, making her look eternal. There were books all around her. Seems like she slept while studying. Taeyang walked to her slowly, without making any voice. He bent down to her level and gently pressed her hairs back. She looked so beautiful. When he first saw her, it was true that he liked her. It was kinda love at first sight, but he never expected their marriage this soon. And then her parents' talk influenced him. That's why he maintained distance. He wanted her to complete her studies before they start their relationship. And there, everything messed up. I'm sorry, he said slowly, then slipped his hand under her knees and neck and picked her up in his arms and walked towards their room. She squirmed in her sleep and snuggled more into him, making him smile. He slowly placed her on the bed and covered her with a blanket. He was about to go, but then turned and bending down to her level, he placed a lingering kiss on her forehead. Sleep tight. You are working very hard nowadays, and I love you. Don't worry about anything. I'll be here for you, always. After placing the last kiss on her forehead, he left from there to prepare their dinner. This was now his routine, to talk to her when she is asleep. After 1 month, many things changed in this 1 month. Jiwon was now in jail. She was sentenced for 2 years for bullying, as not only Ryan, she bullied other students too. But Mr. and Mrs. Min always saved her. Jiwon, Mr. and Mrs. Min begged to Taeyang to not send Jiwon jail, but Taeyang was adamant on his decision. And it tarnished their reputation of what they did to their elder child. Slowly, Mr. and Mrs. Min realized their mistakes and now begging for forgiveness. But Ryan don't even want to talk to them. As for Ryan and Taeyang, their bond is getting stronger day by day. Ryan has improved a lot in her studies. She just needed a guidance and a teacher with patience, which Taeyang gave her. Now Ryan talked to Taeyang freely, and Ryan has also deeply fallen in love with Taeyang, but doesn't have courage to confess. And for Taeyang, he was in love with her from so long. Both are waiting for the other one to make first move. Taeyang, please, let's watch this. It is good. I'm sure you'll like it too, Ryan said, trying to convince him to watch the drama she chose. What's so good in Ghost? Watch a movie in which humans are present, not ghosts. He flicked her forehead in last while she sighed in annoyance. Don't tell me you are afraid of ghosts, she said, side-eyeing him while Taeyang gulped, like he was caught red-handed. What? Hell no. Who will be scared of the thing who doesn't even exist? He said, trying to defend himself, but Ryan got it all and started laughing. Oh my god, you're afraid of ghosts? I can't believe it. OMG, OMG, latest news of the day. The scary professor of Seoul University, who scares everyone just by his one look, is scared of ghosts. Oh my god, I can't digest this. And she started laughing again, while Taeyang was looking other side, being red in embarrassment, as Ryan caught his weak point. Hey, now it's enough. Stop making fun of me. No, I don't get chances like this daily. Suddenly, Taeyang held her hands and pinned her on the sofa. Now she was laying completely beneath him, while he is on top of her, pinning her both hands above her head. Her laughter died down long time ago, now replaced by nervousness, seeing Taeyang this close to her first time. What happened? Now show me your pretty teeth. Taeyang, she said nervously, while Taeyang was enjoying her state, as he knows it makes her nervous whenever he comes too close to her. But before she could say something further, the doorbell interrupted their movement. And Taeyang stood straight, abruptly hearing the bell, and Ryan also sat straight. Who is at the door on Sunday? He walked towards the door and opened the door, but after seeing the visitors, his eyes turned cold as he asked the reason for their visit. Please let us talk to our daughter. We want to ask for her forgiveness. Taeyang sighed and thought for some time before finally letting them in. Who is there, Taeyang? She asked with a smile, but her smile dropped as soon as she saw her parents. Daughter got cut by Ryan as she spoke. Taeyang, what are they doing here? Ryan, calm down, he said slowly, but Ryan wasn't ready to listen. Ryan, we are here to apologize. And for what, Mrs. Min? They became shocked as Ryan addressed her mom as Mrs. Min, and her tone. She never once raised her voice over her parents, but now. I can't tell you apart from them. You can't tell either. Will we love or fall in deeper? Tell me, darling, what is it you want? How the mind doesn't work like it used to. As I know I remain a danger to me, to you. Going altered by the moment, dear, and the sedation. I don't sweet on survival. I'm on fire, waiting your arrival. I never expect to be saved without it. All you could ask for never made its way into your heart. Taeyang walked inside the room only to see Ryan curled up in a ball, sobbing loudly. Her sobs broke something in his heart. He slowly walked towards her and placed his hand on her shoulder, and she flinched. Hey, it's me. Ryan looked at him for a second, then hugged him tightly and broke down into tears again. Taeyang, why they were here? Am I a bad daughter? I talked rudely to them, but they made me like this. And now they think that only sorry can fix everything. She looked up at Taeyang. No, Taeyang, it can't. No, it can't. Saying that, she again started crying, while Taeyang could only hear her complaints and was trying his best to comfort her. After some time, her cries slowed down, but she was still sobbing on his chest, while Taeyang was rubbing her back. I don't have anyone in this world. Now I'm all alone. No one loves me. She was mumbling things, and Taeyang was getting worried. What if she became like before? She will again fall in depression, but this time it will be severe. Then Taeyang heard her saying that she don't have anyone in this world. No, she have him, and he loves her very much, and maybe this time he should tell her this. I'm all alone in this big world. What are you saying, Ryan? You have me. Taeyang cupped her face between his palms and made her look at him. You have me. How can you say something like that? You have me. You are not alone. And I never said it before, but today I'm saying it, that I love you. And looked at him shocked, but then moved away from him while shaking her head. No, don't lie to me, please. You're just saying this because you want to comfort me. You'll also live like others and start hating me. Ryan, I'm not lying. I love you from long time. Aish, come here first, stop crying. He pulled her towards him and wiped her tears before tightly holding her in his arms, while she was still looking at him, trying to comprehend the meaning of his previous words. I love you from the day I saw you first time, and after our wedding, that love only increased day by day. Tell me, did I ever mistreated you? Ryan shook her head as he never once mistreated her. He never let her do a single chore of the house. He was just cold towards her, and used to scold her for her studies. You really love me? Wayne asked him again. But this time, Taehyung didn't answer her verbally but instead grabbed her neck and smashed his lips on hers. Wayne became shocked, but slowly she melted in his touch. She didn't kiss him back, she let him kiss her. After some seconds, he broke the kiss and pecked her lips last time. I really love you and I'll never leave you. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time these were of happiness. I love you too. Please don't leave me ever. Saying that, she hugged him tightly and he also embraced her in his arms. Vine was waiting nervously for her results. Her test was good. She attempted almost every question. But now she is very nervous as it was her first test in university after Taehyung started teaching her. Kim Vine, the teacher called her name and she immediately walked to her teacher. The teacher handed her the mark sheet and smiled at her. You did very well this time. You improved a lot. Keep it up. The teacher patted her shoulder and Vine slowly looked at her mark sheet and there was written 70 out of 100. She jumped in happiness that all students started looking at her weirdly. She mumbled a sorry then walked out of the class by making an excuse of washroom, but instead she went to Taehyung's office. Vine slowly entered inside his office after getting his permission. She looked around to see if anyone was there. Yes, Vine, why are you here? She walked towards his desk and handed him her mark sheet while smiling. Taehyung also smiled while looking at it. Look, your hard work paid off. I'm proud of you. Vine nodded slowly, still looking around. Sir, are you alone here? Taehyung looked at her and then nodded. But not after a second, Vine jumped on him and hugged him tightly. Taehyung, I'm so much happy. It's all because of you. From now on, I'll do more hard work to make you proud on me. Taehyung smiled and also hugged her tightly. I know, you are a very hardworking student. I have believed in you. Vine smiled more hearing this. What more she wanted? Just a little appreciation. It's been 2 years and their love only bloomed with this time. Vine also improved a lot. Not a topper, but she is now far better. She has this confidence that she can do anything now, and it's all because of Taehyung. He was a really good husband. He supported her in every step of her life. Now they are here in the resort to spend their vacation here. Vine and Taehyung were sitting in the balcony of their resort, admiring the beauty of nature in front of them. Suddenly Vine turned towards him and kissed him, and was about to run, forgetting that she is sitting on his lap, and he immediately pulled her back and pecked her lips. Hey, this is cheating. You were supposed to run behind me. Vine, I want to ask you something. He called her and she looked at him, sensing that he wants to talk about something serious. What happened, Taehyung? Actually, I want to ask you, what are your plans for future? What do you want to do? In 1 year, you'll be graduate. So, have you thought of something? Hearing him, Vine got quiet for some time. Taehyung held her hand and made her look at him. Look, I'm not forcing you. If you want to study further, I'm with you in this. And if you want to do something else, then I'll also support you in that. Okay, so don't take any stress. And if you didn't thought of anything, then it's okay. You have a lot of time. For now, let's just enjoy our vacation. Taehyung, actually, I have thought of it. I want to be a professor like you. Taehyung frowned, hearing her. And why is that? I want to help students like me. I will give special attention to the students who are weak and will help them. Cause I know how it feels. Taehyung smiled hearing her. Are you sure? Vine nodded immediately. Then I'll help you in this. Hearing him, Wan smiled brightly and hugged him tightly. Breaking the hug, she looked at him with hurt in her eyes. Thank you for coming in my life, Taehyung. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for the every single thing you did for me. I know thanks is not enough, but I just wanted to say you are my life. Without you, there will be no while. Tears filled in her eyes and started rolling down from her cheeks. Taehyung knew she's getting overwhelmed by the emotion. He wiped her tears and kissed both of her eyes and pulled her in his arms and lastly kissed her head. My silly emotional wife,